Hey, it's Amanda, and you are watching a segment from 100 videos in 100 days. This started out as a challenge to myself to prove that freedom can come from authenticity and vulnerability, and that life doesn't have to be perfect or look perfect, it doesn't have to feel perfect to be valuable, to really be valuable. And that you don't have to wait to share your gifts till it all looks a certain way. And this is also about what the cost is of waiting to share your gifts. I didn't have a YouTube channel before this. I never did a video of myself. I didn't even like to see myself in camera. So am I scared every time I do this? Yes. But I'm here. I'm showing up, because I'm committed to this conversation about freedom. And the freer I get, I believe the freer you will get. So I invite you to participate as you can. There's no editing here. I get one take. So if it all goes to hell, you go with me. There may be swearing, there may be crying. I may get up and walk around. It's the game. It's authentic and vulnerable. I will look different every day. So that's really the point of it, is in life there's no editing, there's no redos. So who are you going to be? How are you going to show up? What would that look like? And what would be possible if you just showed up exactly as you were and let the cards fall? Would that be freeing? It is to me. And if it is to you, I hope you get something out of these. If there's anything that I say that rubs you wrong or feels off, discard it immediately. It's not for you. It's for whoever needs it, and most likely for me. So when this turns off and the next one turns on, I will be sitting here quietly with my eyes closed. You're not walking into any special session that you're not supposed to see. Everything's transparent here. So I started this to have context in the beginning, because I can see people are jumping in the middle of the series, and I just want to make sure everyone feels included. So I will see you soon. I know it's noisy, but we're going to have to work over it. Once again, what am I going to learn today? I went out and did stuff yesterday, but I came home, and later in the evening I started to struggle with that feeling that I'm getting. And I realized a couple things, maybe that it is or not, but when you really get that the mind has nothing to do with you, that everything it's showing you, which is 95% of what you experience, because it all comes from the ego and the subconscious, there isn't anything that isn't tainted by it, colored by it, from the way that you taste food to the things that you like that feel a certain way, what you think you can and cannot do, what your health is, your state of mind. It's created the picture for you. There's nothing it doesn't create a picture for. So when you get familiar with these emotions and you start looking to see what is true for you, that's when you take, let's say, in Statue David, they say that all he did was remove what wasn't David, the statue. He didn't have to create him. He didn't have to build things onto him. He just took away what wasn't authentically him. And that's what this work is about, is removing everything that it has nothing to do with you, which is everything. And I know it's a big, wide brush of a statement, but it's true. And I'm seeing that my ego just doesn't know what to do with that. And last night I came upstairs, and just the more aware I am of how everything it's telling me is just complete nonsense, I started to feel like if I come in here and talk the way I'm talking about our feelings and problems and stresses, that I would be lying. Because I have such moments of clarity that I know there's not a problem in the world. There's no problem. I have no problems. None of you have any problems. It's just made up. Is it here to teach lessons? Sure. Is it? I mean, it could be for a million reasons that I don't know that we'll ever have the full answer to. I mean, at some point, I guess. And I don't think it matters, because it always just matters in the moment where you're at. But my mind was just like, well, that, and maybe just in your experience, I just felt like if I go on here the next 60 days, because here I am at flat 60, I'm going to have to lie and just keep talking, even though there's no problems. There's really no problems. Like, legitimately, there's no problems. And whatever you throw at me, I will show you that it isn't a problem. And in any given moment, there isn't a problem, because you actually can handle whatever's there. If it's pain, you can handle it. If it's depression, anxiety, in that moment, you can't handle it. It won't take you out. When we just think about this, we always think of problems as a future tense or backwards. So that's not real. That's just movies. That's ghosts. And all we ever have is right now. So if you think you have a problem, consider that you don't, because if it's really a problem, you're handling it. There's nothing you wouldn't handle. Even if you had to call someone else to help you handle it, it's being handled. It's always being handled in the moment. If it's a conversation, if it's a sneeze, if it's an eye twitching, if it's jumping in the shower, if it's paying a bill, if it's having a conversation to clear something up, it's always being handled right now. And you can't get it wrong. Some people have issue with that you can't get it wrong. Well, you can't get it wrong because it's always part of your path. Even if society judges it or your mind judges it because it doesn't look normal or it's not in the realm of rules and regulations of how you're supposed to turn out, you gain something every single time. And even when, as a society, we want to look at people that go to prison and go, well, that was wrong, they made a mistake there. No. They did what they did. In the moment they believed a thought that was true for them, just as any thought you're having right now is true for you. You believe you're watching this video, you believe I'm telling the truth or not, or you believe your back really hurts, or you really do have that bill due, all that. People that are in prison believed a thought, and they believed it just as much as anything you've ever believed and followed through on. It becomes their world, and they cannot see differently. They're not truly a choice in that moment. None of us are. If you say something really snotty to someone, you weren't really a choice in that moment. You have to do so much work and be so present, so connected to not do things like that. But you have to start somewhere. And the thing is, when people say, well, but they did get that wrong. They screwed up. They didn't pay this. They ripped them off. They were drunk driving. They committed adultery. They took drugs. They did get that wrong. No. They had an experience here on the planet that serves a purpose. And we like to think we live in this utopia where nothing like that happens. But if those things didn't happen, we couldn't have the experience of forgiveness, compassion, empathy, having to dig deep in ourselves and find unconditional love, and even learn what love is in the first place. Does love just look like romantic love, or is it just I love my children? Can you love the person that stole from you? Can you love the person that hurt your child? Can you love the person that took their life? Can you do that? Because if these people don't do these things, they are the biggest teachers we have on the planet. It's great for people to get up and speak from a pious place of never do wrong, always do right, don't drink and drive, don't do drugs, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's fine. And if you as a parent, or whatever the thing is, if you want to teach someone not to do those things, you're going to call on that person that's never done it and just has a very strong opinion about it for whatever reason? Or do you want to go to the person that crashed his car into another car and killed someone to relay what their experience was like and what their life is like now? They have a different perspective. They have a world that actually they can teach from authentically. It's not an opinion. It's not a point of view. Here's what happened, and here's what my life is like now. Which one would you like to talk to your children? Well, if that guy hadn't done that, you couldn't learn the lesson. So I always wondered about that growing up from a very young age. It was like, taught not to sin, but if we don't sin, we can't learn. And the devil's here to tempt us, except he's bad. Except if he hadn't signed up to be bad, we couldn't learn how to choose. But he can't go to heaven. But he's the bad guy that had to be the bad guy to step up. This doesn't make sense to me. Somebody, this does not make sense to me. He would be the disowned child and everyone wouldn't like. If that person didn't show up, you wouldn't get to know yourself. Because no one gets to know themselves in easy. So these ideas of that we can get it all wrong, well, it can occur that way because in our minds time exists and it's linear, but time isn't linear. It actually happens at one time. But the way our mind is designed so we can have an experience, it seems like they're like this. But you know, sometimes when something like bad happens and then down the road you're like, that hadn't happened. All these great things are going to come out of it. That's because you can't see it in the moment that happened. If you could see it all at once, you'd just be grateful. You'd be grateful for everything. My car just got hit, and you could see the whole world of how that happened, how every player was involved, and what it did for you, you would be grateful. There isn't anything that you wouldn't be grateful for. And the more I go through and I distinguish these things, it gets so apparent that it's like, there are no problems. These thoughts run. They have nothing to do with me. My feelings come and go through me. I'm free to do anything I like. And there's no problems here. And then I start going into like, well, gosh, you're going to go in there and talk about problems, how to fix problems. While I'm just doing the best that I can to share in this commitment, and it keeps opening stuff up for me. Because there's parts of me that are my mind that's going to get confronted as I keep moving towards things dropping away from me. You know, words are hard to find. Descriptions are becoming much more difficult. Like, well, what does that feel like? I have no idea. I don't have a word for you. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? I don't know. I mean, I'm always going to be able to sit back and take a look and then share, and now I'm just like, yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing. Which creates space. But I feel like the mind, either I've got to settle back with the mind or the mind's got to ease off a little bit to fully get what's happening. I feel like I get these big bursts of kind of growth or being more in depth. And then my mind comes in like a rage and it goes like a battle, goes like this, feels like a compression, like in the cocoon. And then I pop back out. And then I can see backwards, go, oh, holy crap, that's what was happening. Because now it's totally different. Like, I'm super glad I videoed these, because if I had to write the book from where I am now, I'd be kind of confused. Like, everybody's fine. If they're in pain, they're fine. If they're happy, they're fine. If they're sad, they're fine. If they're not doing any work, they're fine. If they're out causing trouble, they're fine. It's all part of the design. So there's really no problem. I always think of ourselves and our actions as like your shadow attached to your foot. You think that you can go awry, or you can make a mistake or go off, but you notice your shadow's always attached to you. And I think your shadow's kind of like that shadow self that has those darker parts that we judge and we attack, but it's always there with you, and it's there for a purpose. So we think we can go off the path. And in Taoism, we are the way. You can't be a false move because you are it. And everywhere you shift, the world is all navigating together. So you can't get it wrong. And for some people, that's very comforting. And it makes sense to me because I'd watch over and over where things that everyone told me were a mistake or should be a mistake, or I've watched people make what were considered mistakes, and then the biggest blessings came out of them. Far more than someone trying to get it right or being frozen. There's just a different depth there. So, yeah, it's just in this new place, and I started having more questions come up last night, and I just immediately started questioning them and saw new things, and then they can fall away. Even last night, and this is strange. My mind, when I was thinking about just being able to walk through it, regardless of what it's saying on each side, all the chatter, it's like, yeah, I know you're talking, and I'm going to choose to move through this anyway. Feel what I feel inside and keep walking. I got this sharp pain at the bottom of my foot, like someone had taken a needle and just jammed it up into my foot. I don't have a foot problem. And I went, oh, that's kind of funny. And then, but I forgot, went back to doing what I was doing, kind of the same thing. All of a sudden I got that jammed up in my foot again. Okay. Went back to what I was doing again. So then I started thinking, whenever the mind doesn't want you to go somewhere with your thoughts, it actually it starts to compress the blood vessels, so it cuts off oxygen, and that will cause pain somewhere in your body. It happens so fast, you don't actually usually notice it. So if you're doing something else and you're like, ow, ooh, what was that, what was that? Thank you, mind. It's your mind. It doesn't want you to be wherever you're thinking, or it doesn't want you to look at whatever emotions are there that you may not even realize. And it happens so fast you don't know. But it happens to everybody. But what I started doing is I would lay on my side, and then I would say, oh, you know, I'm just McKenna. I'm, okay. Hi, everyone, this is McKenna. Yeah, okay. Throat sister. This ain't a nudie film. That's my family. So I told my mind, I just went, oh, I'm just kidding. Like, I'm not leaving you. I'm not going anywhere. Wait, it's fine. I was just joking. No pain. Totally fine. A couple minutes. And I went, let me try that again. Went back. Well, what if the mind started to go away and it got quiet, and then and ding, right into my foot. And it was hilarious. So I kept doing it, and then I'd shift over to, oh, she's just talking silly. You know it's me and you forever. Oh, I love you. I'm not going anywhere without you. No, I don't want you to be quiet. You help me a lot. And calm. Try it again. Okay, so the mind, ding. I did it like 15 times, back and forth. Waited it out, checked it out. It was just right there, waiting. That's how present I'm getting to it, is like an entity that's not me. I mean, I know that it basically kind of creates the veil or the distraction that we live in, so we can't really see who we are and connect to that. Because if you do, the mind will drop. It'll drop away. Will that stop you from doing things? No. But like I said, you would just be in motion. Things would happen spontaneously. You'd just be, instead of when you wake up in the morning like, oh crap, it's all here again. You would get up, you take a shower, you make your breakfast, you go to work, you do whatever you did. You just wouldn't have the chatter of it. So you just could experience it fully and presently and be connected and not be in this tug warp in your head. That's what the difference is. So my mind, I think, knows that is starting to happen and show up. So as I said a couple of videos ago, like I expected it to come on like gangbusters, and it made my body just feel kinds of weird yesterday and heavy and not even flu-like. It's not a thing I can explain, but just something like, oh yeah, well, your body's fucked up, so how about that? Go chase that. But the thing was, I wasn't chasing it. I was like, my body has a feeling or a sensation, but it's not me. And I know you put it there, so what's up? So it's a very strange dialogue. And I'm kind of just toying with it back and forth because I want to actually witness what it's doing. So if you get those pains or weird sensations in your body, maybe change the conversation back and forth just to see if you can see it. Because it's kind of empowering, because if you know you have this entity that's kind of gone awry, and it's a child that thinks it should be in charge, and then but it wants to be in charge, and you can kind of redirect it back and forth, it's not nearly as scary. Like, yeah, I know I got the screaming kid in my arm, and I got to run the marathon with it, but at least I know what I'm dealing with. I don't think I'm screwed up. I don't think I'm weird. Something's wrong. My body's falling apart. I can't do this now. I can't do that. Oh no, no. I just got a toddler trying to convince me of something while I'm running the marathon. There's not a problem there, because in the moment I'm handling it anyway, and what's happening in 5 minutes I can't handle. And that's just the mind trying to make me feel like there's a problem. But there's not a problem. There's never a problem. I mean, what is the worst case scenario we can come up with? Death? Not a problem. Not a problem. Religions and cultures might make it a problem. Live forever. Ugh. Now things. I think there's good stuff going on up there. From what I've seen and what I hear reported back from time to time, sounds like a fun place. There are people getting their chops busted up there. Everybody did their job. I offended you, you forgave me. I got to experience forgiveness, you got to experience forgiving. It has to happen that way, just like you get up happy and sad. It's no different. Everything is two. There's a flip side to everything, but it's really the same thing. We think of it as the front and the back of the hand as if they're two different things, but it's the hand. So you're going to lop off your hand. Everything exists in duality. The yin and the yang, they have the black and the white, the male and the female energy, the mother-father archetypes, the parent-child. It's all done there, and it's both, and it's neither. And I think a lot of people maybe can feel that inside, but to actually experience outside maybe takes removing stuff. When you just start removing stuff, it's very hard to deny it. And not just from I read about it or I heard about that. Oh yeah, I read that one time. And I've read about it for years. And something inside me told me that was true. So that's why I kept looking at it, because I could see it. But then to actually just have be my experience. So when I'm looking at something, there's a little bit of I'm removed a little bit. So I'm not completely in the movie like I would be at the theater. I can watch the movie. I'm just not in the movie. This one thing Eckhart Tolle talks about is like, when you're with a group of people or you're watching movies or things like that, every so many minutes you actually want to check your breathing and make sure you're back just a little bit. He's like, be an 80%. Give over 80%. If you give over 100%, you'll get lost in the movie. Whether that's the drama of a relationship, fighting with a kid, stress over bills. Give it 80% attention. Keep 20% back for yourself so that you can remain the witness. Because the witness isn't freaked out. The observer is what's been here forever. If you think back when you were a little kid, you see how you can see yourself in that room? And you see how you could see yourself 5 seconds ago, and maybe even now, like there's this experience of being able to see yourself. That's the observer. That is what is unchanged. That is what carries with you. So that's why the right, wrong, good, bad is for experience, because that which witnesses it, which you can call your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, it's here to experience it in a body form, but it's not here to judge it. It's just to witness it. And if you look through your life, remember that presence inside of you. That's it. It's not ever mad at you. It's not sad. It's not freaking out. It's not even happy. It's just love. And that's why when I said a long time ago, I don't think it's that we don't love ourselves. I think it's that we forgot or weren't taught how to express it. And that's where we get sick, because then the mind starts freaking out because we can't express the energy that's inside of us that we shove down. But the soul is always the presence of love inside of you. And it doesn't it doesn't have an opinion on if something happened to you. It doesn't weep inside of you. It's just there present, watching, observing, and is there as unconditional love. So that's why when we hear truth, it's really hard to resist it, like, forgive people, love people, honor people, love yourself enough to have a boundary, things like that. That's because that's where your soul's always at, because it's not mad. Those feelings inside, that's not your soul. That's stuff stored in your body that the mind tries to make you forget. It's just pushed down here. So that's why we get depression, anxiety, and illnesses, and exhaustion, and things like that. Is all this is being shoved down into here. And because our mind thinks it's clever, and it distracts you in different ways, or gives you pain in the body, or gives you emotional trauma, problems, gives you something to chase around and not go in and let those back out. I did a ton of work with my daughter yesterday, and not only, I don't usually work with them, but now I'm where they can be in pain and I don't have to fix it. So I can really direct with them, and okay, here's the ball game, let's get going. And when they want to get out of it, I'm like, nope, because I know it's the ego's just challenging me, so it's actually easier. But sometimes when you have a thought that gets in here that's stuck and it starts playing out as reality, and then you shut down the feelings about it, that combination actually will start drawing things into your life to make the story more accurate. So this is my second kid now that they keep getting car accidents. My first son, he bought a car, and he'd been in several car accidents, but this time a lady came around at night and hit his car that was in the driveway. Almost killed her. And I said, that's it. Like, what is the story you keep wanting to tell and prove that's in your subconscious, your trash bin, that you haven't sorted out? Because that's why this is happening. This does not happen to people. Like, I've never been in an accident. Every other day. Or every other week. Hauled him in the next day. I said, all right, enough of this. So we sat and cleared it out, and there was a story that he had. And all of these things kept in place, because as soon as it happened, it's like, see, I'm fucked up, or see, I'm a troublemaker, or see, I don't know what I'm doing, or whatever it was. And then with my daughter, we started that yesterday, and something happened a couple of years ago after she was diagnosed. And there was a comment made, something about how much it cost for her to be a diabetic and the financial burden that was. And she took that and heard that as, I'm a burden. Well, she can find it all over her life. And so we went in there, and she got honest, and it's painful, but not only did she see where she's not a burden, but she saw where she was punishing other people for making her feel that way, for making her live out this story. But every time she hits the car again, well, now she's a burden because got to ask Dad for help. Or every time she doesn't treat diabetes a certain way, well, then I can end up in the ER. That's a burden. Or if I don't do things I'm asked, or if I take Dad's card and I don't return it, or she just had a list and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm punishing him for the thought that I had that I'm a burden. So those things can fall away. I can 99% guarantee you the accidents will stop because she doesn't have to prove this story. And I'll follow up with you on that, but when I can get to the root of it, and when I can point to it and they can go in and get it out, yeah, we're on like a 100% accuracy marker at this point. So you have certain things in your life that keep happening, like I keep having accidents, I keep falling, like I used to fall all the time. And it sounds lame, it sounds weird, but your mind runs 95% of everything about you. Your way you hear, the way you see, your body, the way it moves, the way it works, it's already planned out in front of you. You just don't even know it. So if you fall, or if you run into the same problem or same situations with people over and over, it wants it because it keeps that story alive, and it wants an identity. And if the identity is, I hit cars all the time because I'm a loser and I have no money and I'll never be anything and whatever it is, it doesn't care. It'll find all kinds of situations to make sure you got that. That you have so much proof, you can't refute it, and it'll just shut you down. And then it doesn't have to worry about you not being safe because you're so scared inside yourself because there's so much evidence. You can't move. Okay. Didn't expect this to go that long, but just keep trying to be as honest as I can about this, even though it's such a weird space. And later I'm going to feel like I lied, kind of. Like, but really there's no problem, so I don't know why I'm talking on the video. That's what starts coming up. Please don't have problems. You're all fine. Just go play. You're fine. There's nothing to be afraid of. You all lived happily ever after. I promise. I promise. That's for you to find. I can only point to it or show it in my life, and then you believe it or you don't. I don't get to control that.